Welcome to another episode of the Caffeinated Librarians. This is the final episode of our costume drama series. We will be ending it today with my pick, the 2019 French historical drama, written and directed by Céline Sciamma. It won the Palme, and the movie it's called Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Wow, this is the worst intro we've ever had. This is what happens when I take notes.
Just keep trucking. It's fine.
You see what happens when I take notes? It won the Palme d'Or.
It did not win the Palme d'Or.
It didn't?
It competed for the Palme d'Or. It won the Queer Palme.
Really? I thought it said it won.
Now, 2019 was Parasite.
Oh. It competed for the Palme d'Or. It won the Queer Palme at the 2019, you said? Cannes Film Festival. Cannes Film Festival. So this is
You're
going
good.
This
You're
is going
good.
terrible.
It's all French words. You're fine.
It is. French is hard. It's giving all my strength to not just say Pippi la Pew right now. Okay, the movie stars, Simone actually wrote their names down, Naomi Merlant and Adele Haniel. Do we have initial thoughts before we want to get into it? We should just get into the plot, and then we'll jump in?
Yeah, let's do that.
So, at the end of the 18th century, one of our main characters, Marianne, a painter, is teaching an art class in France, and one of her students asks about a painting of hers, which Marianne calls Portrait de la Dune Fil en Feu.
And everyone in the audience starts cheering and clapping because they're like, "That's the name of the movie!"
I love that part in Family Guy when they do that. They go, I love when they say the name of the movie. So the movie that obviously is The Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I really liked that because you see it very, very briefly, but you see it enough where a scene later in the movie makes a large impact.
I think it makes a lot of sense to open this story with that sort of like many years later type deal because I don't know, it gets you ready for like, okay, this is a film in memory. This is a film where it's like clearly these events meant a lot to her. And so
agreed. Yeah, I thought that was a very appropriate way to start the film.
I also really liked the first scene that begins the flashback that takes up the most of the film, where you see Marianne on a boat traveling somewhere, and her art supplies go into the water, and she just dives right in after them.
I love nobody helps her either. They just kind of like watch her and like, which I don't know, is that symbolic? Probably.
Well, it's not going to be talking about anything in the film in particular, but just like the broader theme of women helping women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's one of the things I loved about the film. So I kind of wonder if it's not that the men wouldn't have helped her, but like I was just wondering if that's sort of because the film centers on women, three women in particular.
Yeah, I think those men early on and like one guy at the end are the only men you see in the film.
Yeah.
The same guy is the one that kind of carries her stuff to shore.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, where do I go? And he's like, all the way up there. And she's got to lug her stuff.
Yeah.
But it also sets off the other major thematic element of like, she is kind of an artist above all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And to the detriment of her own health and safety and emotional security.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, Marianne arrives on Brittany, which is an island. She has been commissioned to paint a portrait of a young woman named Eloise, who is to be married. Eloise's mother, the Countess, tells Marianne that Eloise has previously refused to pose for portraits, as she does not want to be married. Eloise had been living in a convent before her older sister's suicide forced her to return. Marianne acts as Eloise's hired companion to be able to paint her in secret, and accompanies her on daily walks along the rugged coastline to memorize Eloise's features. I like that beginning part because Eloise is almost like this ghost-like figure at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, you even get teased multiple times that like you're finally going to see her, and then you don't. Like there's a bit where you see the last portrait where the face is just entirely blank because she would not sit for it. But you see the dress, and then you see the dress moving down the hallway with feet underneath, and then you realize that it's Sophie the servant carrying it, not Eloise herself, which I thought was very fun and kept you on your toes. And again, I like the establishment of her as kind of a spectral presence. And like even how she dresses, like a lot of times she'll have like a veil over the lower half of her face, which I don't know what you call that, but it was very cool.
Yeah, I also the first time you see that portrait, that faceless portrait, it is jarring. It's actually kind of scary.
It's kind of a haunting image.
Yeah, because you don't expect it. It is jarring. It is a little scary. Giamma, the director, teases the audience by waiting to show Eloise's face, and then when we finally do see it, we're as intrigued as Marianne is. And we, along with Marianne, are examining her face, like, the contours of her nose and everything. Like, you really are kind of like focused on her face. And I like how Shyama frames. I loved how most of this movie, all of this movie was really framed, but I really liked how when you get that side profile, you get her front features, you're getting her face from all these different perspectives, just like Marianne would be doing in order to paint her.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that's probably blaringly obvious, but a lot of the compositions are very painterly, which I think is really cool here, because while the movie's about painting, so you have that aspect of it, but it's also about an artist remembering, and it kind of makes sense that she would choose to look at these events that have left a mark on her like this as paintings, as a piece of art she can look back on. I'll get more into that later. There's a certain conversation that's very much focused on that.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that there were even a few scenes. I don't really remember which ones in particular, but there were even some scenes where like the actors like would be in the frame and would like kind of pause for a second. And then it almost like, because of that extra little hiccup, it would really resemble that of a painting. And I thought the director did a really nice job of mixing those little moments in.
Yeah, the tableaus that get created are very
So Marianne, after observing her, finishes the portrait, but she finds herself unable to betray Eloise's trust and reveals her true reason for being there. Eloise criticizes the painting because she says that Marianne did not capture her true nature. Marianne destroys the work, which again I thought was pretty jarring. Seeing her just
and the image you get on her face after it, like smeared and blurred, is very cool.
Yeah. So Marianne destroys the work and tells the Countess that she can create a better painting. The Countess is getting ready to fire Marianne, but then Eloise says that she will pose for Marianne. And the Countess is shocked to hear that and gives Marianne 5 days to complete the new portrait while she is away on the mainland. And that's really kind of like the crux of the movie really starts right there. Like, it really, then it starts to focus on Marianne, Eloise, and Sophie. So one of the interesting things that kind of starts to happen at that moment too is Marianne, again, this painting, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, Eloise as this like ghost kind of figure. Marianne's actually haunted throughout the house by visions of Eloise in a wedding dress, and this leads to probably the most important conversation in the movie, where one evening they're reading the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, not Eurydice, and they debate the reason for Orpheus's turn when he looks to look at his wife. And Eloise suggests that the reason he turns around is because Eurydice asked him to. So this, I think Orpheus's turn to look around at his wife suggests that Eurydice's memory is more meaningful to Orpheus.
Yeah, that's Marianne's interpretation of
Yeah.
it, which I think is, he chose the poet's way, as she
Yes.
puts it,
Yeah.
of remembering of the memory and
Yeah.
not the actuality, and and that sort of is in large ways the thesis of the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and because it mirrors the relationship between Marianne and Eloise, and there's a very pivotal scene at the end where that encounter kind of happens.
Yeah. I'm sorry to circle back on this, but I really like the scene when Eloise sees the first painting and they sort of debate over it, and she's like, there's no life in me here, and even before that, when she finds out about it, it's like, oh, now I understand your looks. It's a betrayal of the relationship that was there, but also she's like, you didn't actually know me. And a lot of the second half of the film is sort of the subject challenging the artist, and being like, no, like, I'm observing you. And through that, I don't know, it's a very interesting dynamic that's depicted there, and I really enjoyed seeing that process unfold, and I don't know.
I think that's interesting, and that's kind of it's the opposite of what you expect, because usually it's the artist that's judging the subject. Not judging is probably the wrong word, but examining the subject. But I mean, that kind of becomes the twist of the kind of where the movie turns is it's really the other way around.
It's a movie about gaze in a lot of ways, and just like, when this movie came out, the number one thing that was like getting talked about was like, oh, it's the female gaze, and I'm not disputing that, but I think it's more complicated than that too. Because it is about the artist's gaze and what happens when the subject gazes back, and what it unfolds from there. Like when both understand each other, can you make something more meaningful?
The early parts of Marianne painting Eloise, she kept saying, like, you won't smile for me, I can't capture your smile, and stuff like that. And then there's an instance where Eloise is sitting on the chair, or like a little couch or ottoman, and she is smiling, but then right as Marianne starts to paint, she just totally loses the smile, and like, my initial thought was like, wow, she's like shooting daggers through her, like just like staring her down, and like she just looks angry, but she's not. It's not an anger, you learn. It's I'm not sure I can really articulate what the look is, but I think Marianne, maybe you're supposed to perceive it as anger, but you realize it's not really anger. It's more of like just a sadness. I don't know. I think that's just the way I saw that.
No, I totally get you. It's like, am I just raw material for you?
Yeah.
Am I a person with my own feelings, or am I raw material? Am I just something for you to look at and recreate?
Yeah.
And but I also, I don't know, I love the scene where she's like, no, like, I know this about you, and she names all these little ticks and all these little things about her.
Yeah.
I don't know, very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that conversation about Orpheus is really like the centerpiece here. It does come like right halfway through, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's, for me, the first time watching, that's kind of when it picked up.
Yeah. What I was going to mention about the whole thing with art, where Marianne basically says there's a technicality, so you have to meet all these technical sort of points, for lack of a better term. And one of the things about art, like I was thinking about, if you see the way Jesus was depicted in art at a certain point, like baby Jesus, he almost still has an adult look because God was something you had to fear. And then slowly you see during the Renaissance, the depictions of Christ and the Virgin start to change. They're more sort of approachable. Jesus becomes an actual baby. Even the way, like Mary holding him, it's not as rigid. It's not following like a set order to how certain things should be depicted. Which is when Marianne is talking to Eloise. That's sort of what came into my head. How, well, that's not how it's technically done. When I paint your portrait, I have to do it in this way. And also when you're thinking about it, the portrait is for the fiancé. And many times portraits were not supposed to reflect any quote-unquote imperfections or realities, because that's going to be her selling point.
Yeah.
So, because in many ways she's a commodity in this marriage. She's not being viewed for her strengths, for who she really is. So that's what Marianne has to paint for the fiancé.
You're clicking a lot of things into place for me here. Yeah. She's painting an ad. Like,
exactly. That's what it is. She's not meant to capture who Eloise really is. And even Eloise talking about the convent, while most people would find convents stifling, for women in particular, it was an element of freedom. You were not subject to a man. Yes, there were rules you had to follow, but you were not someone's wife. You were not someone's property. And Eloise even says in the comment, and even the way Marianne describes the comment, you can see their differing perspectives. Because Marianne says, oh, like, I was in a convent, like, I found it stifling. And Eloise says, I found it freeing and liberating. And also, Marianne does not have to worry about being dependent on someone for livelihood. And Eloise even tells her that you can't understand where I'm coming from because you are not in my position. You are free, as free as Marianne could be, because there are things that she mentions, where I can't do this because I'm a woman. I'm not allowed to do this because I'm a woman. But still, she is free. She will eventually have her own business. She will have her own income. Whereas Eloise will never have that. So that's an element of Eloise's anger and frustration too. And I think when she sees Marianne, especially as a woman, she expects that you'll have that understanding. Of all people, you should understand why I'm being so adamant about this. And yeah, so that's an element of the film I enjoyed. And going back to when all three of the women are talking about Eurydice and Orpheus, and their differing perspectives, even for Sophie, who, what I love about Sophie is that she's not treated as the servant.
Yeah.
Once the Countess leaves, they form a sisterhood, which was one of the most beautiful parts of the movie, because it's women supporting women understanding one another and coming together and saying, we're going to, like, because Sophie, I don't know, is it okay if I mention the big sort of thing about Sophie and her pregnancy? Because Sophie's issue is that she's pregnant. And, the scene where Sophie says, oh, like, what we were trying to do didn't work. Will you come with me? And she goes to the woman who will help her with you.
Yeah, that was honestly really beautiful. Like, I don't know, it's rare to see, an abortion portrayed sensitively in film.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's presented as, like, a worst-case scenario type deal.
And especially in that time when you had to do it in secret. It was not something that you did openly. And once again, it's women supporting
But
women.
yeah, and it's just like this like very kindly older woman.
Yes.
And she has her own children around, and
Yeah.
it's not, I don't know, it's not presented as a big horrible thing.
I
It's
almost
just presented
cried
kind of factually.
when Sophie turns towards the baby.
Yeah.
And the baby grips her finger.
Yeah,
So while
it's
she's
like-
crying, the baby is like comforting her. And also going to show that just because you have an abortion does not mean that you are anti-child or against having children.
Yeah.
It just means that for Sophie, first of all, she's unmarried.
Yeah,
So-
Sophie's in a bad position. She can't.
But I just
yeah.
love how like the baby turns and grips her finger, and basically it's a comfort that while she's experiencing that, she's also being comforted by the infant. So
Yeah,
I
no,
thought it was
I'm
great.
getting chills. Yeah,
Yeah, I almost cried. It was a very beautiful moment. Like, those were the moments I loved. And I think that's also the theme of the film. It's when women come together, it's a beautiful thing because we support one another in a way that I think men support women. So I'm not trying to say that they don't, but there is a difference.
Of course.
Yeah.
When women come together and, you know, there's a beauty in that sphere of womanhood. And I don't know if you're going to mention it, the gathering that takes place
Of
at
course.
night.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
next.
yeah.
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 I want to comment before
Yeah.
we get to that.
Yeah.
There is almost no music in this film.
That's another thing.
There's no
that,
score.
Yeah.
It is, you get 3 pieces of music throughout. One is Eloise playing the harpsichord, and it's a Vivaldi piece, and it's very beautiful.
Marianne,
and like
right?
Marianne,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very beautiful and very impactful. And then the scene on the beach of a bunch of ladies hanging out, having a good time with a bonfire, and they break into the craziest song you've ever heard in your life.
Actually, I thought it was organs at first. I thought it was
Yeah.
a score.
Yeah.
And then you see that they're singing, and you're kind of like it's a little scary at first.
Yeah, it sounds like the THX sound in a movie theater when it's like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So later on, the 3 of them, they go to a bonfire gathering where the women sing, and Eloise' dress briefly catches on fire, and this is the painting that's depicted earlier in the movie.
And
So-
she is mad chill about this dress going on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things it's interesting that you were just talking about there no music. There's not music, but there are a lot of sounds in this movie. So
Yeah, it's very focused on like material details like that, like textures and sounds, and it feels, I don't know, it's pretty transportative, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, if you notice, there's a lot of constant crackling of fire, which is I obviously I think it's intentional.
Oh,
This
yeah,
really culminates in the bonfire scene when Eloise dresses catches on fire, and I think that the fire it doesn't last long. I think that's indicative of their relationship. It's quick. It's serious because it's fire and you know that's important. I think also Joe said you said she's very chill about it. It's almost like she's like accepting it because she's accepting
Yes.
Marianne and she's kind of like looking at Marianne while it's happening.
until there's like an acknowledgement of it.
Yeah.
And then she falls to pieces.
Yeah.
Which I think leans very into the metaphorical part of that scene.
I just love the way Eloise is like across the fires just staring
Yeah.
at Marianne. And one of the things like I loved, and I had this in my notes, was that this film is very sensual, very passionate, without bordering on exploitive or vulgar in any way.
Agreed.
And then Eloise just gazing across at Marianne in the fire is like, oh my God, like you want to be looked at that way. And the way Marianne is looking and like the gulp that she takes because she's like, oh, like it's getting serious. And like Eloise also acknowledging that I know that you feel the same way and I'm not afraid anymore to show you that. And at first I thought the fire, her dress catching was metaphorical. And then I was, oh no, she is literally caught on fire. Like I was like, oh, okay. We're getting a little metaphorical now because she wasn't reacting. So I thought at first, oh, it's not really happening. And then the other women run to put her out. I was like, oh, she did catch on fire. But also the whole thing that passion that burns strongly burns out quicker in many ways. Which, yeah, but just such a beautiful, beautiful. I loved that whole scene. And when the women just start singing, and it's almost like a primal kind of song,
Yeah,
and they're just
it's-
sort of celebrating one another. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
So the next day, Marianne and Eloise, they share their first kiss. They get intimate with each other. They spend the next few days together. One of those days, which they take, what is it, flying? It's called flying something. They take the drug, which when you see, again, kind of adding to this almost horror kind of theme, like when her eyes are big and black, and like that kind of that's a shocking thing, and that actually was a real thing that people could have taken back then. I did look it up because I was trying to figure out what they were taking, and it's actually called flying something. It's got herbs in it and stuff like that.
The name of it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't-
look it up.
I don't remember what it was called.
Flying ointment.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it was an herbal hallucinogen.
Yeah.
And it was usually used for like sexual purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that scene was very powerful. Because the Countess is coming back, the Marianne and Eloise's relationship is about to be cut short.
Oh, and it was also connected to
Witches, right?
witchcraft. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That
yeah.
okay. That makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in one of my favorite things, Marianne sketches a drawing of her. I think it's of herself on page 28 of a book. When the Countess comes back, I think that's right after the drugs too. Right after
Yes.
the drugs, or it might be the next morning. The Countess comes back. She approves of the portrait, and the next morning, Marianne says a very emotional goodbye. As she's about to leave, she's, kind of on the verge of tears, so she's kind of running down the stairs and trying to run out of the house. She hears Eloise say, "Turn around." She turns and sees Eloise in a white dress, and it cuts to black.
Oh, that was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the visions were very like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is when that turn by Orpheus is mirrored by Marianne when she's leaving, and obviously Eloise calling out to her is Eurydice, and Marianne sees the image of Eloise in the white dress that she's been kind of haunted by throughout the 5 days since the Countess had left. So in the original story, Eurydice is sent back down to the underworld, and I guess the equivalent of that is Eloise is now being sent to be married, which I thought was a very sad but powerful kind of imagery. They know that they can't be together, so the memory they have of each other has to kind of be enough for them. So that leads to kind of like a Marianne kind of like recounting. She says that she's seen Eloise 2 more times since then. You find that the first time was just in the form of a portrait at an art exhibition. And
the book opened to page 28.
28.
Oh.
And I loved that. Like, it was, Marianne sees that Eloise has a child, and but she has the book just open.
She's sending
just
out
to,
Taylor Swift subliminal messages.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I absolutely loved that. I thought that was heartbreaking.
Could we go back, I'm sorry, just to one moment,
Yeah.
because something that kind of also resonated with me was after Sophie has had the abortion procedure, when Eloise says, we're basically she asked Marianne to do a portrait of that.
Yeah.
It's I saw it also as an acknowledgement that we're not going to pretend that this hasn't happened.
Yeah.
That, and also as a way, I think, also of helping Sophie through it, because not only is she still in physical pain, but it's also an emotional kind of upheaval. So I thought it was another beautiful moment, once again, of women and women, where Marianne says, we're not going to sleep, but we're going to do something.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like capturing that moment, so that we don't forget, though, what the three of us have gone through, what we've done for one another. So I just wanted to quickly acknowledge that one as well, because it was a very beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And something that stuck out when I actually saw it. So I just wanted to quickly reference that one.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The second time that Marianne sees Eloise was at a concert in Milan, where she noticed Eloise is sitting across on another balcony. Eloise does not see Marianne, but she watches her as she gets overwhelmed by Vivaldi's Summer, which is what Marianne played on the harpsichord for earlier in the movie, and I thought that was a beautiful scene. That was kind of like I forget what we watched, where I was like, oh, it was it Emma, where or maybe maybe it was your pick, the dancing scene that I was like, that could have gone on for 10 more minutes.
That was Emma.
That was Emma.
Emma? That felt, I was like, I could watch I could have kept watching that. The way the actress, started off with just you felt her raw emotion. You felt her getting more emotional as the song went on. And then it just cuts to black, and I like that you don't even see Marianne's thoughts. Like, you don't even see her reaction to it. You just see Eloise, and that's it.
I kind of feel, and this might be obvious, that we are Marianne looking at Eloise. So we are kind of, what we experience is, I'm supposed to be mirrored with what Marianne is experiencing, which is what I loved about it.
So, yeah, as I'm clicking around on here, that does invoke a historical painting.
Oh, really?
In the Loge, I think that's how you say it, by Mary Cassatt, where it's an impressionist painting of a woman looking through binoculars at an opera, and in the background you see a man looking through binoculars at her, and so it's famous for its commentary on the gaze, and it's from the 1800s, so pretty early to be talking about that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it's sort of a recreation of that. And
interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, I really liked that. And again, I think, going back to Joe's point, the fact that, there is really no music throughout the entire movie, and then you get this bursting score right at the end. I think it just it floods you with the same emotions that Eloise is feeling at that moment.
I just felt really heartbreaking, because obviously they could not be together. And that was really heartbreaking, because as I was watching, I was like, oh, I really wish they could be together. But so that was also very heartbreaking, but also very beautiful. Also, the loss of control that Eloise experiences, where she's trying to maintain her composure, but then little by little she just gives in to the feeling and the emotion, which is something, if we're talking about a film, about art, talking about that music, that's also what music does. Well, at least good music is able to evoke all these emotions within someone, like joy, sadness, and just that overwhelm when you give in to it. And I think opera is one of those genres where I think it lends itself more to those kinds of feelings, where you become so overcome and overtaken by the score, and you become transported.
Just the vocal style alone, I think, is meant to overwhelm you. It's But that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes I can't nearly articulate it as well, but it was, I don't know, it was a very beautiful scene. I think this movie overall was just gorgeous.
Very much so.
Visually stunning, and the emotions that it evokes. And it's not even like some films where it's like, I can't even what I'm trying to say, but it elicits those reactions organically from you, whereas other films, they're trying to get you to feel something, but it's not really hitting, and like, nah, I'm not really feeling it. And I think it's also a credit to the actresses and their micro expressions.
Yeah, no, it's just a very confidently made film too. It doesn't need the score. It doesn't need any of that. It's just, here it is. Yeah, and I don't know, that massive respect for that.
We're gonna go on good direction. We're gonna go on exceptional acting.
This movie is very well regarded. Recently in 2022, in the most recent Sight and Sound Critics poll, which is like the film culture poll, honestly. Like, it's the big one. It got its number 30 as the greatest, 30th greatest film of all time on that list. Obviously it's not objective, but it's a great movie.
And what drew my attention to it, this was the first time this week was the first time I had seen this movie. What drew my attention to it was, I think it was at the New York Times earlier in the year released their 100 best movies of the 21st century or something like that, whatever it was.
Probably something like that.
Whatever it was. And it was number 7. And I had never heard of this movie. I had never seen it. And then it popped up on another list very high up.
So that was the universe telling you to watch it.
Yeah, I think it was. So that's kind of where what brought this into the podcast.
Could we talk about the Countess?
Yeah.
For a little. One scene that stood out to me is when the Countess is talking to Marianne, and when she slips into Italian, because the actress herself is Italian, the one who plays the Countess, and she talks about Milan. And I think it's tempting to view the mother as sort of not a villain, but I don't know, for lack of a better term, because she is sort of forcing her daughter to marry someone the daughter doesn't know. But then you listen to the mom tell her story, where she experienced the same thing, where she had her portrait taken, it was shipped off, she eventually got to her new home, and she's the first thing that greeted me was that portrait. But you can see that she's a mom who cares about her daughter, a mom who's grieving the loss of the other daughter. So that humanizes her, because she's not doing this to be cruel. And she says, I haven't seen Milan in 20 years. And I feel like this is going to be good for my daughter, a change of scenery. I think she's going to enjoy it. And also, let's be real, a woman of her class, like, marriage was a way of securing her daughter's future.
Yeah.
So I think it's tempting to kind of see her as being cruel and not caring, but I think in that conversation alone, the Countess becomes a human again. She's a mother, and she's also someone who very much was like Eloise, where, like, I don't know what direction her future could have taken, but she experienced the same thing. And we don't know how her marriage was. The husband is not around. She's a widow. So we don't know whether he was cruel, whether he was we don't know anything about it. And we don't even know much about Eloise's fiance, to be perfectly honest, either.
No,
we just know he's a
he's
nobleman.
totally absent.
Yeah. But you understand Eloise's trepidation, because once she gets married, her sort of fate is sealed. She's at the whim of the husband. But it was just a very beautiful moment between the Countess and how she actually, I think that's the only time we hear the Countess laugh, was when she's talking with Marianne, or even smile is when she's talking with Marianne about the past, when she's reminiscing and when she's talking about her daughter and the hopes for her daughter. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I didn't see the Countess as a villain for
lack of a better word.
For lack of a better word, but we'll use that word. I saw her as a sad character. Again, like you said, she just lost her daughter. She wants to make sure, and her daughter died in such a tragic way, and she died alone. Mm-hmm. She wants to make sure that her other daughter doesn't have the same fate. And I think even beyond that sadness, I think she's lonely and she's sad, and she sees Milan as a way for her to escape too. Mm-hmm. And I think she so desperately wants that that's kind of why she's pushing this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But that I saw her the same way. I didn't see
Yeah.
her as a villain. I saw her as
Yeah.
as just a sad figure also.
Yeah. But I did want to acknowledge the Countess because the actress does a phenomenal job in that scene as well, and just the different emotions, and yeah, it was, yeah, I liked that scene, and I wanted to bring it up as well. Yeah.
But yeah, lovely film.
Do we want to give final thoughts and ratings?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to kick us off.
No, the person that does it goes
Okay.
last.
Okay. All right.
How long have we been doing this podcast? For like 40 years now, I feel like. My goodness.
Well, overall, beautiful film. I'm glad that I watched it. Yeah, just overall beautiful. So wonderfully done, tastefully done. The actresses are all phenomenal. Like, yeah, I think I've said many of the points I might have concluded with, but yeah, just really beautiful film. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, no, a beautiful film, and the focus on the details here is amazing and cumulative, and yeah, it's always amazing to see somebody paint on film, and this is a great, this captures that in such an amazing and emotional way. I don't know. Yeah, five ladies on fire, I guess.
Nice. So, little behind the scenes to what we do here at the Caffeinated Librarians. We record on Fridays. I watched this movie this past Monday. My initial reactions to it were, I very much liked the second hour of it. I was very bored in the first hour. But I forced myself to rewatch it last night. And I have found myself kind of experiencing this more and more, where the first time I watch something, I'm kind of underwhelmed by it, and then I go and watch it again, and I kind of notice things that I didn't notice the first time. It's really an inefficient way to do things, because if I just paid more attention the first time, maybe it would have been better. But I think the second time I watched it, I appreciated the little things that the director was doing definitely more than the first time. The first hour was a much different experience for me the second time watching it than it was the first time. And there were moments in the second hour that I'm not ashamed to say made me very emotional. So this period pieces like this are not really my cup of tea. But I will say 5 out of 5. And just for the director and the actresses and the feelings that it invokes. I was trying to think if this was done in the 21st century, I would probably be saying this was my favorite movie of all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. You can't get past the period piece bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
No,
you go ahead.
Just 5 out of 5 for me. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, not my cup of tea. I whenever anybody says it, I just think about what year was it? 2019. At the Oscars, it was that was when Green Book won, and they were asking Spike Lee about it because BlacKkKlansman was up that year too, and he
which
was
was
like,
so much better.
And he was like, they asked about Green Book, he was like, not my cup of tea. And he made some crack about like, well, it seems like whenever anybody's driving somebody somewhere, I lose, because in '89, Do the Right Thing lost to Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah. I also, when you brought up and a very good point, I don't mean to diminish the point at all, but the art, and you said Baby Jesus, I had to refrain from laughing because I thought of
Ricky Bobby.
Talladega Nights. Yeah. So, thank you guys for watching. Check out the movie. It really is exceptionally made.
And it is available on Canopy, which is one of our streaming services.
Yeah. Good plug.
Shout out Canopy. Okay, if you like art house stuff, go there. They have the coolest stuff.
And also a lot of great documentaries as well. So.
Yeah, and we're going to be back next time with another series. See you guys then.
Bye.